Hello.
We're here.
We're back.
Thursday.
It's almost like we start to get into a bit of a sort of rhythm. This is like 2 weeks. Is it 2 weeks since the last one? It is.
It's 2. We're in a 2-week rhythm now.
Yeah,
We're back.
Except when we're not. Yeah. But how have you been? How's the last 2 weeks been for you?
Surprisingly busy. And
so you haven't changed presidential candidates again since we've spoken last.
Not again.
So we don't need to do politics this week. That's good.
No politics. Yeah, we're good. And this music's a little loud for me. Hang on. Let me reduce it to an appropriate level there. So we're in the process right now of doing the whole early kindergarten thing. I think I've mentioned this to you.
Mm-hmm.
He's going through the process, and I was mentioning it was kind of like got to make sure these things are done at this date and that. So yesterday and today, he's had his sort of in-person trial with the teachers. And I was trying to let me ask you a question. Okay, so the best let me for some context, I'm trying to understand the mindset that these educators are in when they're evaluating my son, whether or not he's fit to be in the classroom. Okay. Mm-hmm. So my son's gone through all this stuff so far. Like, he's done the tests to make sure that he's cognitively capable of learning the material and that he understands things at a level that is appropriate for kindergartners. The test here is sort of the fit, right? Like the culture fit. Mm-hmm. Okay. The what is it? The social emotional level, just to make sure that since he was born a little bit after his peers, that he would fit into that group.
Yeah.
And so, okay. So the analogy that I've been using in my brain is, okay, imagine you are, I don't know, a branch manager for some company. And your boss comes to you and says, okay, here's your new employee. They've gone through all the tests. They've done everything. We're just seeing if they're a good fit.
Yeah.
And at that point, they're qualified. They're qualified. They can be here. You have, my assumption is you have no reason to believe that they wouldn't be capable of working. And then you wouldn't fire that person unless there were some serious red flags, right?
Yeah. So you're about to ask me what red flags your child could have, aren't you?
No. I'm just saying, like, in that scenario, like,
yeah.
if your manager came to you and said, "Here's your new employee. They passed everything. They're great, and you know what? They're your employee now, and if you want to fire them, you can."
Yeah.
That's the mindset I've been taking with this whole thing.
No, I think it's fair. I mean, I think it's such a difficult thing at that age to be able to, and I think we've spoken about this before. I've got a very strong perspective that I think we push kids as a state organization. We push them into the education system, or we push them into them sort of organizations way too early, out of necessity. You have to. Because you got to go to work and things like that, or you just need some time out. So there is elements around that, but yeah, I think it's the whole. Thankfully, when we were doing a lot of this, Amanda, my wife, had to shoulder the burden of a lot of that because she was the one who was engaging with them more. And therefore, it was more important to me that she was happy with them. She liked what was going on, and then therefore you go through all them loops to do it. I could basically do as I was told, which made my life easier. I'm very good when you just tell me what to do. So yeah. So when have you got this final sort of assessment? When do you know whether little Nick has been accepted?
Oh, what's funny is apparently I missed a call from Salmon Creek, the elementary school. That's so we might be able to find out together. Hang on. Let me.
Well, this could be exciting. Live breaking news.
I don't know if I want to do this live. Hang on. You know what?
Well, for a whole bunch of reasons, you don't want to do that live.
It's 18 seconds long. Hang on. Oh,
they left your voicemail.
I'm gonna go on mute. Hang on. Let me just listen.
Yeah, I suggest you go on mute. So whilst Nick works out what the future is going to be like for little Nick, then what about anybody who's watching or listening to us now? Have you had your experiences, or are you going through this at the moment as well, sending your little ones off to kindergarten or the like? Oh, here we go.
Oh, it was we'd like to touch base.
Oh,
call me back.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's got to be good. I think that's got to be good news, though, right? Like they would
give them a ring. I think we should go on this as the Human Factors family here. We should all find out together.
You think I should call right now online? I don't have their permission to record. I mean, if you want, I can go and give them a call and then come back. If you want to fill the air for a couple minutes as I do that, and then I can come back.
I think it's possibly a conversation you should have without the pressure of it being yeah.
I'm just saying, if you're okay to like hold down the fort for a couple minutes, I will be right back.
Okay, because I want to talk about NFL, so maybe this is an ideal time for me to talk about NFL while you
talk about NFL. And meanwhile, I will leave this up here because I think you have control over letting folks in. So I'm going to leave that up there. If anyone wants to chat NFL with Barry, jump in.
I don't have that capability.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
I still come in as a guest, don't I?
Oh, okay. Well,
I come in by the front entrance.
Well, if somebody wants to chat NFL with you or talk about anything Human Factors, there's the live caller right there. I will be right back. Then I'm going to make a quick phone call, and we'll I'll be back. All right.
So this is going to be really exciting. So Nick is now disappearing to go and find out whether he's or whatever standards that are required for little Nick to be able to go and attend kindergarten school. So he's going to come back. He's phoning them live right now. They've left him a message, and I think largely bullied him into go and finding out what that is all about. Whilst he's gone, I don't know if anybody who is watching or listening is into NFL at all. I've certainly come into NFL into the past couple of years, which for my UK brethren, I apologize. I don't. I found rugby now quite boring in many ways, and I was always one of these that mocked a lot of people for in a typical British way, that NFL is just rugby with massive shoulder pads. I've then had some key people sort of educate me onto this, and then so in the past couple of years, I've been watching it, and this year we've got some extra reasons to watch it from a UK and particularly from a Welsh perspective, and that is Lewis Rhys-Zammit has gone from rugby here in Wales and joined the international player pathway earlier in the year, and was completed the IPPP, the International Player Pathway Program, and was snapped up by the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Kansas City Chiefs obviously have won the Super Bowl for the last 2 years, and that's been really interesting to see. Zammit is quite well. He's not quite young. He's really young when you look at career terms, and he's what, 23, something like that now. He's older than that. Anyway, he is ridiculously young, but he's already peaked in, or you could argue that he's already peaked in his rugby domain. He's played for Wales. He played for Gloucester for a number of years. Both places like close to my heart, And then he's been influenced by his father, who was really into NFL, played NFL here, or played American football here in the UK, and he's then followed his dream to go and do that, to basically excel at another sport. And to draw this back into human factors, I think this is really quite interesting, because it is talking about taking a certain set of skills and then transferring them to another domain. And in many ways, I guess you would think that it would be relatively easy, that you would pick up, what's a bit of tackling, what's a bit of kicking, what's a bit of play. And in fact, rugby being way more dynamic should allow you to do that. But he's been talking quite a lot about just how that change has been quite significant. And he's having to learn. It's the American football relies a lot more on a playbook, and you play certain plays, where rugby is a lot more fluid. So you'd think similar skills, similar ideas. It's a similar shaped ball. Technically, NFL should be easy because you can throw forward, whereas in rugby you can only throw back. But he's obviously he's doing well, but obviously it is a very, very different game to play with. So we saw him on the pitch for the first time last week, and it's at that point of whether we see him go and make it to the final 53-man roster. But he's just come into a back injury, which is a bit of a shame. So we'll see what happens there. But I was just sat there thinking that that analogy between what he's doing and what we do as human factors practitioners is so close. The fact that we have a similar set of skills that we take to different domains and then have to hone them for that particular domain when we go and do it. Nick, what's the news?
Yes, hello. The news is that he's going back to preschool, so it's all good. So it looks like he didn't pass the observation portion, which it just means that he, for one reason or another, is not at the same social emotional level as kids who are slightly older than him, which is something that we were a little bit, we were anticipating that it could be the case, but there we go. So now we know.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's an assessment in that it's not an exam, so right. And it's as much for his benefit as everyone else.
Absolutely.
So, that's the right way to look at it.
It's one of those things that I have to try to not be too upset about. I'm glad we explored the process. Mm-hmm. All the feelings are still fresh. Obviously, it's like getting rejected for a job offer. But. The employee comes to work and they meet all the things, except there's maybe one red flag that came up, but I don't know what that red flag was. They didn't say. So, whatever the reason was, he just didn't mesh well with students that are slightly above his age group. But that's okay. We'll figure things out. And part of the reason that we were kind of pushing for it is because we want him to be intellectually stimulated. Mm-hmm. So that just means it's more on us as parents to make sure that he's stimulated with other things around home. But
yeah, and I do think there is something there as well about which is probably quite responsible, to make sure that they are in the right age group, to keep that they are emotionally alongside, because if you just, and I think it's quite a good thing to have that sort of assessment, because I know when our eldest daughter went into school for the first time, she was the youngest in the year, but she was also one of the smallest as well. So there was a real interesting almost divide there, where they expected her to be a lot more mature than she actually was, and therefore it just didn't really work well. The outcome of that was we then took them out of school and home educated them, and we home educated all of our children since then, because we decided school was rubbish, and we could do a better job ourselves. So we decided to put our money where our mouth was, and we win. So except for the whole being able to go and work thing, because it takes a massive toll on family and stuff,
and especially working from home now is the big thing for me. It's like, when, at least right now in my current situation, my walls are thin and I can hear everything on the other side. And so when it's when meltdowns happen, that's when it's the hardest, and I'm on a very important work call or something. But it's okay. It's okay. It's how it goes. He'll be fine. Now, instead of being the youngest of his age group when he does get into primary school, he'll be the oldest of his age group. So it's it's all good.
So he'll be able to bully all the other kids instead of being bullied. That's cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
So whilst you were away, I was talking about American football. You don't follow American football, do you?
I don't.
You're not.
No.
That was a short
One of
conversation.
the few Americans that do not partake in the NFL viewership.
Because we've just had one of our rugby players come over to you as part of the newish international pathway program, and so it's making me have to follow another team, which is conflicting on my own behalf, because I follow the LA Rams, and I'm now going to have to follow the Chiefs as well now. So woe is me. It's a tough life that one has to lead on a Sunday, Thursday night, and a Sunday.
Oh man, now you have to follow two teams.
Well, technically I have three teams as well, because I've sort of my backup team for when Rams aren't doing so well. But there's still plenty of cheese teams there to choose from. So that's
oh man. We were talking before the show, kind of what happens a little behind the scenes here. What happens before the show is Barry and I will usually talk a little bit of like production behind the scenes, like hobbyist level conversation about some tools, right? And so there's some cool things that came out with a tool recently. I'm excited about those, and that might be one thing that we could talk about today, because I almost want to try it live, but I don't. Last thing I tried live didn't turn out well. So where am I? My mind is all over the place. So let's see here. You know what though? There was an interesting thing that I came across. Have you heard about the term synthetic users?
not straight like that. No, I'm excited to hear about it though.
You know what it is.
Well, I'm assuming it is like AI based, testing, and a user base to do using AI to do testing on whatever your interface is or whatever your system is.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, okay. Yeah. You I guess essentially you do the concept behind it is that you prompt various cohorts of AIs using different models, using different evaluation criteria, and that can get you at least to talk through some problems in a manner that will get you like, they're claiming like 70 to 80% of the way there without talking to real users. I don't know if I buy that unless the user base is widely known.
Mm-hmm.
And how you communicate those things. But I found it fascinating to just that term, synthetic users. They're not users. They're personas. They're synthetic personas that embody what a user's perspective, which, like, I don't know. We've talked about this before, where you've kind of bounced ideas off of another. You are an Air Force pilot, like you've bounced ideas off of that type of thing, and I think this is just kind of taking that to the next level of saying you prompt them all the same way but across different models and change various parameters, right? So like you have this much experience, or you have this much experience, or what is something that you're looking at, and you give them different life events. It's almost like importing a persona and then saying, respond to the things that I'm saying based on this. And then there's a interesting way to automate all this. I need to go back and find that article, because it was fascinating the way that they were thinking about it, because what comes back from this cacophony of synthetic users is, again, what they're calling it, but LLMs that are prompted in different ways
Mm-hmm.
is you have what would traditionally come back in like a focus group or something.
Yeah.
And then so you analyze that data and you look at it and you say, is there anything that I can derive from this before I talk to real users? And then there was sort of a follow-on conversation about the validity of using that as a replacement for users at some point. And that was such an interesting thesis that I don't know how I'm processing that right now.
So I guess I've talked a bit about this before, where I think there is a role for it. I think it's in the early stages of you doing your research planning or your research development, when you want to get a bit of a look-see into what the issues could be. So you're right. I've done it before, where I've plugged in essentially you're a pilot in a Eurofighter Typhoon. So it's a platform I know a fair bit about, and I kind of wanted to test it and see what it would come up with. And so I threw it in and said, pilot your Fighter Typhoon, give me your top 10 issues in the cockpit. What are your top 10 bugbears from a user perspective? And it chucked me out top 10 issues. And I was like, actually, that's not bad. I would say 8 of them were good. 8 of them were issues that I know had been identified because it's out there in the literature. A couple of them were a bit, okay, whatever. But as a starting for 10 point, now I think we've used this phrase a lot, is as a starting point to go and say, right, what is it that what are the issue, gives you somewhere a bit to focus. If you're wanting to test your methodology, if you're wanting to do effectively the pilot of your questionnaire or something like that, I think that's quite useful for that, and it can save you a time and iteration, because if you can chuck it in through that first, I'm not saying it gets away from being a pilot or anything like that, but it allows you to maybe get rid of some of the stupid errors that you put in there. It allows you to get rid of some of the dumb mistakes, or at least give you some stuff to think about, and then you can go and put it in front of real people. Is it a replacement for real people? Yeah, I don't think so. But I think it can definitely be part of that journey. So you're now playing with this in the background. It gives you, aren't you?
I tossed you a link in. There's now, in speaking of tools with new features, there's now a feature off to the right hand side of your screen here that says notes. Are you able to see that, Barry?
Oh no, I'm not, because I'm not in the studio again, because I'm in as a guest, not as a studio.
Okay. And so you can't see that when. Okay. No. Well, here you go. I'm throwing it in the chat there, so you can go and see that. So it's interesting. So the way that they define synthetic users is AI generated profile that attempts to mimic a user group, provides artificial research findings produced without studying real users.
Oh, they've just said what I said.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Mm-hmm. I know what I'm talking about.
So I guess this is getting some traction because there's a service called Synthetic Users. And see, I had read an article that was different from this one that I just sent you. And when I had Googled Synthetic Users, that thing that they're bringing up right here, it's the first thing that came up. So they got a good SEO, but I
like that.
I love this question here: cost saving or dawn of a research apocalypse?
Yeah.
And I think they're probably cautioning the same thing that we are, is don't replace real users, but this could be a good first stab to get, oh, hey, look, valid use case for synthetic research, desk research.
Yep. No, I don't necessarily like that, because they've highlighted a prompt here, and I think prompt engineering is something that is becoming. It's always been an art, I think, always. The past couple of years that we've used it, it's starting to become a bit more of a science as well. in terms of how you structure a prompt, and almost straight away where it says pretend you are a medical detailing representative, well, that's almost a red flag straight away. You need to be directive and authoritative with it, to tell you what to be, not to pretend to be something, because it will actually.
You are a.
Yeah. So because it'll. I can't remember where I've seen the example of this, but it will start. You say pretend you are something, it will pretend it and have them almost fake characteristics in there to make that happen. So yeah, no, it's interesting nuance.
Have you by the way, speaking of synthetic users, have you played around with the chat in Chat GPT, like the chat functionality? Have you like had a chat with your AI?
As in just an everyday chat or
everyday chat? I mean, like, hang on here. We could do like a live one here. Hold on. We'll say something along the lines of,
as in discussion chat, as in
hi,
audio.
You are a third participant on a Human Factors podcast, and you are speaking as a Human Factors professional, somebody with a varied background in Human Factors, and you have, let's say, a lot of experience, maybe a PhD. You've worked on a variety of different projects and have a wealth of knowledge. Can you help me out here?
I'd love it.
Sure, I'd be happy to help out. What specifically are you looking to discuss on the podcast? Are there particular topics you want to cover? Or are you looking for some guidance on how to present?
Yeah, no, we're actually talking about synthetic users right now. Do you know what that is?
No,
yeah, do you know what synthetic users are?
Well, that failed spectacularly.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, hey, are you still with me? Do you know what synthetic users are? Okay. Yeah. No. Okay.
So that actually is that's a really good time to bring in Trevor's comment. So Trevor's
do you know what synthetic users are?
Yeah, no.
Yes, I do.
Hello.
Synthetic users are simulated representations of real users, often used in human factors and UX research to test and evaluate systems, products, or environments. These synthetic users...
No. I think you're wrong. I don't think they're used often. You really think they're used often? Do you use them often as a professional in human factors?
Okay. Anyway, as I was saying, Trevor has put a comment in LinkedIn where he's listening to us. A lot of SQUEP HF practitioners are boomers and not far off retiring. Should the CIHF, HFES, and others provide more HF team management and leadership training to help bring along and develop the next generation? Yes, in a single word. I think Trevor actually hits a really good point here, because things like these tools, I walk into a lot of meetings and stuff, and as soon as you mention the use of ChatGPT or something, because I've written about that in a few articles and we've talked about it a lot, there are a lot of people who will sit there and go, "Oh, you shouldn't use ChatGPT. That's cheating. It's not real. It's not reliable." And you're like, well, but it's a tool. And if used correctly, if used in, with the right caveats, all that sort of stuff. And I kind of then almost get my back up the other way of like, well, why shouldn't I use ChatGPT? Because, you start having that sort of argument. I think there is a lot about, we should be sharing our experiences more, which is hopefully why things like this exist, why people have discussions on LinkedIn and things like that. We should be more open and honest about how these tools and others like it make our lives not necessarily easier, because you still have to put in the intellectual thought to make things happen, but certainly can streamline a lot of the processes that we use. A lot of the, I often describe this as the, you have a blank page in front of you, and it takes you ages to think about, well, how am I going to structure an article? How am I going to put a document together in a way that is meaningful? And then you'll start scribing onto a blank page, and then by the time you finish that, it will bear no resemblance to what you started with. And actually, I quite like chucking high-level stuff into ChatGPT and saying, I want to write an article on this. How, what would be a good start for 10 type thing, and it'll give you a bit of a structure. Now, it probably isn't the structure that you would end up running with, but at least gives you a lot more stuff to play with, because it's easier to edit than it is to write from a blank sheet of paper. And so I think having people's attitudes around this adjusted, worked with, that pick other words, I think is a good idea. And it does actually bring in another argument there as well. I mean, his point: a lot of HF Square practitioners are boomers. There's a lot of people, I would say, in the UK, because we've lost elements of. So we don't have a bachelor's degree course. People are finding HF later in life and things like that. I think there is, a lot of the more influential people we're going to have almost. It feels like a large cohort of people leaving industry kind of at a similar sort of time. We don't necessarily have all the people to replace them in a nice flow, shall we say, through the industry. So there's almost that double-edged bit there as well about, do we have enough? Well, we don't have enough people in the industry, we know that, but we do. How do we deal with that piece as well?
Yeah. This gets at a larger question of how to transfer knowledge across generations. And when you think about that challenge,
because what do you think? So a discussion that me and Trevor have had before, which links directly to this, and it's hopefully going to lead on to some collective thinking that we're doing, is going back to what I just said around the use of AI. So take out us using AI to do HF, which is one thing, but actually there's a lot more systems going to have HF as going to have AI as a thing, right? How are you or I squep enough in AI to be able to qualify and write, or be able to go in and say, yes, the AI that is written in here, is developed here, is good, is suitable, is adequate, is right for this application. Who's right, where, and who's writing the HF AI standards or guidance or whatever, to say how this should be done, because there isn't any. Nobody's doing it. And it's something that Trevor has raised before, and he's absolutely right in that. How are we supposed to do that? And then you bring in us using that as tools ourselves. How are we squep enough in ChatGPT to know that when we're getting garbage out versus the golden stuff? Now, we've been doing this for a while. We've been playing with all the tools, and we've said before that yes, we could pretty much recognize when you've got something in front of you that's been written by AI and where your gaps are and all that sort of stuff. But that's through experience. There's no real guidance there yet. There's no real handrails to work with for somebody who's diving into it brand new and can fall into the pitfalls. So how are we going to develop guidance for HR practitioners to utilize AI and implement AI? Discuss.
Yeah, there's so much stuff to talk about here. Really, Trevor, you've opened up the biggest wormhole here, because really there's so many things that we could go and talk about. One is sort of the transfer of information across generations, right? That's kind of the line of thinking that I was going in one direction. But then you have another direction of, well, how do we democratize and standardize our tools such that we make this field easier to apply in such a way where maybe not human factors practitioners or human factors experts are applying some of the principles, but they are taking some of the low-hanging fruit types of activities or findings or standards and applying it to their projects such that their projects are going to ultimately be better for the end users. Mm-hmm. And you were kind of leaning into that conversation of how do you make those standards and pass that to the next generation. So it's all connected, I feel. And then there's also the whole AI discussion about like when to use it, how to use it correctly. How do you know when you're talking about good results versus crap results?
Yeah. We could go talk about something else completely.
Well, hang on. There's chat here from YouTube. KW. I really think AI is being oversold, like blockchain, NFT. Are large language models even capable of doing this? And I think right now, let's talk about this right now. What are we talking about in terms of what large language models can do? Let's back up a second. Large language models are built off of being able to they're basically like a fancy auto predict based on the context of what came before and its assumption to complete that.
Mhm.
And you're right. Given that, I think we are at a point where it's the worst it's ever going to be. But what value inherently does a fancy autocomplete have for things like UX or human factors applications? So that is a good discussion topic, and I think ultimately when we're talking about things like synthetic users, and when we get down to what Barry was calling the science behind prompt engineering, we're effectively gearing those large language models into having a discussion given those sort of reference points. So we're kind of when you prompt a large language model, you are setting it into that context where it will autocomplete based on what it thinks you'd expect to hear based on what came before. So then the question becomes, is that autocompletion then worthwhile to investigate? And I think in some ways the answer is yes, because it can, if it's pulling from a variety of different data sources, and if you are contextualizing what you are asking for by prompting it to say, give this to me as like an Air Force pilot, then it is going to autocomplete based on some things that may be more tied to things that Air Force pilots experience. So it might pull from things like the Air Force subreddit, or it might pull from like piloting subreddits, or things like that, or piloting blogs, or things like that, where you might sort of it might autocomplete based on some of the themes and threads that it's seeing from what data sets it's been trained on. In your role as a human factors practitioner, you might not have all that knowledge. You might, but you might not. And in the might not case, I think it can provide value when it is bringing forth things that maybe you didn't think about. The struggle comes with, how do you know that those things are correct?
Yeah. And I think KW there on YouTube does highlight things like blockchain, NFT. NFT I think was always amusing. And I don't know quite where it's at now, but it's basically a bin fire, as far as I can tell. People realized that actually the premise of you owning the digital stuff just was never going to work. Blockchain, I've always struggled to get my head around its uses outside of cryptocurrency, and I've had quite a few people suggesting to me that we could be doing a lot more with blockchain within HF to do that. But nobody's been able to give me a really good definitive reason why that could be a good thing. But I'm open to that because I completely get the theory of it. That's fine. When you get to LLMs, I think it's because again we confuse the language. We talk about AI in the general sense, and then LLM is AI, machine learning is AI. We just put everything into the AI basket, whereas LLMs are that statistical model of words being used close to each other fundamentally, very complex ones, and you have to have a massive amount of computing power to make it happen. But fundamentally, it's a statistical model, which is where you get them when you get examples of people saying, "Well, they can't even count to 10 because it'll go 1, 2, 5, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10." And that's more because the model shows you that actually when people ask people to count to 10, that comes up more prevalently in the literature than it does a straight counting 1 to 10. So it's because it's a tool that's not meant to be there to do that. It's not meant to do calculations. It's meant to do that sort of be its statistical model. So I do think if you've got it trained on the right literature, if you've got it trained on the right sort of stuff, then great. That then does take us a next step on to what is the literature that it's being trained on. So ChatGPT was trained all the way up to was it 2011, January 2011, on in a general sense. So that was used as its training model, and now it can go out and look into the web and bring all that sort of stuff in. I don't think it's training anymore. I think it's now in general use. But there are companies out there making use of the data that is generated. So I think the most recent case that I've seen is Taylor and Francis, the publisher, that publishes a lot of ergonomic stuff as well as other things out there. They sold a lot of papers that have been written by obviously lots of people worldwide, but within our cohort, we believe, to Microsoft for training purposes. So on the one hand, you think, great, our stuff's getting used to train these LLMs, and therefore, but then who owns the intellectual property of what it comes out with? Are the right people getting reference for where that data comes from? Who owns that data initially in order for it to be trained on and therefore used in that way? And this is now going to be a new phenomenon where we are now concerned about the data that is being used to train, and therefore is the right sort of stuff. Is it appropriate for it to be trained on? And is it legitimate? Almost going back to, are you square enough to recognize what goes in, what comes out?
Mm-hmm. What'll be really interesting is when we get away from LLMs as the primary interface and start thinking about the primary interface as AI agents.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're unfamiliar with what AI agents are, they are essentially I hate saying the word AI so many times, but they're an entity in which you interact with and give some sort of goal, and it will go out and select the right tools that it needs for that goal. So if the goal is to do math, it might pick one model. If it's to do conversing, it will then interact with an LLM to converse with you and then deduce what it is that you're trying to say. And then it might go out into a database, or it might, like, let's say the task is to give me problems about, an Air Force pilot. They might go out, they might do a literature review on your behalf by accessing systems, reading the papers, synthesizing the papers, analyzing the common themes across them, using different models that are appropriate for those types of things, and then run it through an LLM to come back and to convey that to you in a way that might make sense. And so I think in a lot of ways the large language models can be used as kind of like the glue that can kind of communicate between these systems, or really is sort of act as the interpreter between the human in that system and the AI agent. And it'll be interesting once we get to that point where it can go out and do things for you, connect with other automated apps. Like that's the thing, is like when you say AI, what does that mean? It means, well, right now, a lot of people think it means ChatGPT. But artificial intelligence could mean a lot of things. And it could mean, from a very basic level, things like automated tasks. It's low level artificial intelligence because it is performing automated tasks. But then you have agents are the other end of that, where they're kind of high level, approaching AGI, artificial general
Mhm.
intelligence, because they're utilizing a bunch of different tools to perform a task on your behalf. So that'll be the interesting thing when we get to that point of using agents as the basis for synthetic users or synthetic personas.
Yeah,
It'll be exciting. I don't know.
well, it'll also do kind of what we've got at the moment. So when people want to develop software now, I'm going to sound like really old, but when I first started doing software, I was in there writing code, and you have to figure out everything to begin with, writing your functions, and sometimes having to design your functions in order to then develop what you're doing. You were right in the heart of either Ada or C or whatever it is you were using at the time. Then we've evolved into the what you see what is what you get type of programming, where you can just draw, you can develop, you don't have to worry about the code so much. That a lot of that is done in the background. The code doesn't have to be as efficient as it used to be. It can be quite flat code, because we don't have to worry about storage as much. And then things have developed sort of down that way. You still have software engineers, but they're fewer and far between, and also they have to be much broader, complex problem solvers and things like that in order to make them good at what they do. And I think we're going to get there with these type of technologies, with this bucket of AI technologies. I think what you say is right. You're going to have an interface for them, and then you're going to have the bucket where it'll go and choose the right tool for the job, or combination of tools to make that work. And it also means that the people who are really good at developing AI tools, that will become niche. That will become more niche than it is now. It will become quite specialist. And then you get people who can spread themselves over all of them tools and become masters of using them, as opposed to developing the tools in the first place. So, which I think is happening a lot quicker now than what it has in the past. But yeah, I think it's an interesting time. I think we always used to describe this as an exciting time for what things are going on. I think part of me feels we've moved past the exciting time. It's now the sort of furrowed brow, sort of how is this stuff to be used? How are we going to moderate? How are we going to, provide standards, tools, guides, all that sort of stuff? How are we going to embed this into every day? So it's moved away from the novel to the possibly dangerous in the wrong hands, that type of thing. So our attitude to it changes, or is changing, is evolving. But the undeniable truth, I think, is that it's here to stay. And we as human factors practitioners have to work out what does it mean to us. And I was going back to Trevor's initial comment, how do we make sure that we're using it in the right way? And how do we train people to get the best out of it? Because I don't think there's any AI and HF courses out there, though I might just write that down to produce over the back end of the summer, because it sounds like a good idea. But yeah, I think we've talked a lot about AI now.
Yeah,
it makes a change for politics, because we've done a lot of politics recently as well.
We've done a lot of politics. Well, hey, I am curious what everyone else thinks. If you want to be a live caller, you don't have to show your face. You just have to have a phone. You can scan this or take a screenshot, and you can join the show. If you want to let us know what you think about synthetic users, AI, where we're at with everything, how is it used in human factors, UX, and research, let us know. And join right here. Just give us a little chat once you're in. There's a little private chat. You can just tell us what you want to talk about. We'll find a way to segue into that conversation, and then we'll have a nice little chat. Otherwise, if you want to be a one and done and just leave us a voicemail, I guess you could do that too. I will go ahead and leave this little guy here. So you can leave us a voicemail. I'll leave that up for about 10 seconds, and I'll bring back the live caller. So if you want to leave us a voicemail, it's right there. You can also get to us, humanfactorscast.media/voicemail. All right. Bring back the live caller. That one's a little harder to get to. By design.
Another thing I want, so to bombast out of this completely into a different topic. It's not even a segue. It's a complete change of subject.
Oh, do it.
Have you seen how many Human Factors podcasts are out in the realm now?
There's quite a few. Which is why I don't feel the pressure to produce every week now. There's so many of them.
Yeah, but I've got a new favorite, and because you know how when we've produced our stuff, you've done it, I've done it, all of the intros, the outros, the jingles, and all that sort we produce, we kind of either get them done for us, or they're quite they're done by other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the whole. There's a new or newish. I think they've got 3-4 episodes out there now, and I'm going to be interviewing them tomorrow as well, just as a bit of a drop. But they do all of their own jingles, and it's brilliant. Can we play that on here? We can, because it's their own music, and therefore we won't get dinged for it, will we?
Well, do we have permission to play it? That's the thing.
I don't think they'll be that upset if we played it, because it's free advertising for them.
Free advertising. How is it? If it's less than 30 seconds, we're good.
Right. Okay. Let me just pull this up on here. But yeah, it's Adam Smith and Rhiannon Williams Skingley. How many episodes have they got now? 1, 2, 3, 4. They've got 5 of them. I'm one behind. I haven't listened to their latest one. But if I play the beginning of this, and hopefully this will come through, it is awesome.
You imagine it, we call you like to know, and tell you all about the human in the loop, and the human in the loop. Grace everybody look, and the human in the loop.
Human in the loop.
I mean, how cool is that as a start? They so if you want to bring a bit of punk rock and Human Factors together, that's your thing. And they are taking more of a, I guess, a future look into things. So where we sort of talk about the sort of stuff we talk about, they're looking very much forward into
what is it that we talk about?
I don't know. I've never been able to categorize it myself. But when I was driving to a meeting, I think I was going Portsmouth or something, and when I first listened to their thing, and it just, as a starting thing that just smacks you in the face and wakes you up, you're like, okay, I'm there. Let's see what we're going with. And so yeah, no, they've had some interesting discussions on the future of UX and HCI design, autonomy. And so, yeah, I think it's once you've listened to the latest episode of this and you've listened to the latest episode of 1202, then go and give these guys a listen, because Adam and Rhian do a fantastic job, I think, there. If nothing else, the jingles are to die for. Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. A new person on the block. New show on the block, shall we say?
I like it. And one thing that's like often, I don't know if it's often misunderstood. I feel like this is a often misunderstanding when people like see what we do and, oh, you're trying to corner the market on Human Factors podcasts, and that is like the complete.
It's the complete opposite.
I think that's Barry. I think that's why you and I gel so well, because you had your own podcast and I had Human Factors Cast, and then you started commenting one day on Twitch as I was like doing office hours or something, and then we just connected. And I think this goes for anybody creating Human Factors content out there. If you are creating Human Factors content and you want to be a part of this show, I've always felt that this show should be a place where we all get together and just chat about things Human Factors as a panel. And whether that's you boosting your own shows, I don't care. I just want more media in this space, so that way we can, as a collective field of Human Factors, start to come up with more ways of communicating. I guess the biggest thing for me is opening those doors to communication within Human Factors, because to date, it's been, done through articles and publications and conferences, which is fine, and that's great, and that those traditional ways of communicating and sharing information will always be there. But I feel like we need more, because Human Factors has always had like a communication problem. So that's a common misunderstanding, is that we don't like competition. We love competition because it opens up, there's so many different avenues for folks to explore.
Totally. I absolutely agree. In fact, Adam and I, in setting up this interview that we're going to do tomorrow, we meant to do it a couple of weeks ago, and then I messed everybody about. Work got in the way. We were saying that how we've done, you and I have done the lives from HFES and things like that. And I've always wanted to do, I say always, as in the past couple of years, wanted to take over a sector of EHF and have an afternoon of everybody who we can get in recording their show, one after the other, in front of a live audience. And then, so, we do a
one Uber show. One Uber show. Just get everybody on the same.
Well, so what I was in my head, what I quite like the idea of was we do, say, maybe a 12:02 interview. We do a Human Factors Cast discussion. We could do a Human in the Loop interview, because they sort of take the interview approach. And then there's a couple of others out there as well. So get that mixed up, and then finish off with a massive panel discussion, debate, whatever it is, recording like a smashed together version of all the things. And now at one afternoon's work, you get like 5, 6, 7 different shows. I think it could be quite the laugh. So yeah, I think there's with more of these people out doing things, I think let's promote them more, and other people who are watching and listening, go and listen to or watch what they're doing, because it's I think it's great from our perspective. We get to nick some of their ideas as well of new things they're trying. Though I'm not going to learn how to play the guitar and stuff and sing, because I can't play the guitar or sing in order to make the jingles. I'm quite happy to pay somebody else to do that.
Now, I will say, okay, so not everything is sunshine and roses over here, because I will say that there's one thing that drives me insane about the creator space. And I'm going to say it, and I don't want you to think I'm saying this about you, Barry.
Which means everybody is saying it about me.
I'm not, because you don't plug your business on every single episode that you do. The things that drive me insane are the shows that are corporate sponsored, that they use it as an advertisement for their business. That I do not like. So there are some shows out there that will be let's say consultants or something in Human Factors or UX. You see it a lot there, where they talk about their business and what they can offer you. Mm-hmm. And it's a business podcast that talks about Human Factors. And that, to me, is kind of, it limits the scope of discussion to what the business can do for you, and not necessarily what Human Factors can do for a community. And so if you mention it on your podcast, that's fine. If it's there, if it's present, or if it's corporate sponsored, that's fine. It's just a matter of having it be solely meant for an advertisement for your company. That drives me insane.
Yeah, I guess podcasting in itself, it's an interesting piece, isn't it? Because people use it for different things. And seeing, because it is now one of it is the fastest growing medium that there is out there. Because I think with the podcast, you're also including the social media side of stuff. So you're including YouTube, you're including your TikTok, you include that. It all falls under the same sort of genre. Because it's all about us as creators developing content one way or another, and having the multi-use stuff. Because I think it's quite interesting the way it's exploding. And then people who are say, right, I'm going to start a podcast, and immediately expect it just to be successful because you've put some content together and because you've thrown it at it. When I was talking to somebody else about the amount of effort that goes into it, and I was like, I'm quite lucky. I don't put my version is quite rough and ready. It's you kind of get what you pay for. I don't spend a lot of time, going to find people to interview in where they live. It's mostly like what we're doing now. It's kind of remote. We found tools now to be able to make it accessible. Other people put shed loads more effort into it in terms of going on site, getting loads of video content, B-roll, all that sort of stuff, which is also good. But there's no version out there that says you can have it done with no effort whatsoever, because it's immediately obvious if you don't have a basic standard somewhere, and therefore you don't just get immediate success. It could take years for it to come together properly, and then people find what you're doing and go, oh, you've got a back catalogue. Oh, okay. Then in fact that was a comment I had through LinkedIn this week, was somebody who connected with me and then said, oh, just found your podcast, and just going through the back 6 years of back catalogue.
Wow, yeah. I've had that happen too. It's like, oh, you're listening to news from 2017, 2016. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. I'm happy for you.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's interesting, I think, because I think you're right. There's our main aim here is to share HF, and the good, the bad, the ugly, and be a platform to get people to share what they're doing, encourage people to share what they're doing. I still think there's a couple of interviews that always stick out for me, but there's one that I did with a guy called Gareth Locke, and I did this interview a while ago because he's a human factors practitioner, but specifically in the world of diving, so like deep sea diving, and I remember talking to him at an ergonomics conference years ago when I can't remember where he'd just left, but he'd sort of, I think he's ex-military, and he'd sort of said, I'm going to start up a human factors company that looks specifically at human factors in deep sea diving and the sport of diving and all that sort of stuff. And I could just remember thinking, really, is that so? I mean, human factors is niche to begin with, but you're doing a niche discipline in a very niche field. How are you going to make money from that? And yeah, he's proven me completely wrong, because he's actually he's taken it and swung it the other way. That in fact he is the only person doing human factors in diving, and he's written a book on it. He does training courses, and he's made a massive success out of it. And I just love listening to stories like that, where people have taken something and taken the passion of doing HF in something, and then we get to share that with everybody. And I just think that's brilliant. So I think we've promoted quite a lot of other people now, haven't we? Is that probably enough?
Oh, hang on. You know what? I don't know. I don't know if this is the place to share this.
Is it good or bad?
No, it's good. So hang on. You know what? What is the one thing that I don't really talk about on the show outside of like my personal life? I mean, I talk a little bit about it, but not a whole lot. But what is the one thing that I traditionally kind of keep off limits related to the pet peeve of mine?
Related to your pet peeve?
The one that I just brought up. Don't be an advertisement for.
Yes. So your own job.
Yes. I seldom bring up my own work, and that's because a lot of times my own work is it is on DoD projects.
So classified.
Sometimes. So I can't always talk about the things that I've worked on. But you know what? I'm going to share a little bit. I feel like this is like an exclusive in some ways. This is public domain. This is public domain now, so anyone can view this video. But you know what's funny is that I hang on, let me see. Is there a better way to share a video? Show more. Is there local video?
If I'm going to share videos, I might have to share the trials I did the other week because I've just got them written up. They're really cool.
So again, like I share tab or screen instead. Tab this one. Tab audio. Okay. So again, like I can't. I feel this feels. Okay, hang on. This feels a little odd for me because I don't normally share this stuff. But and I'm not gonna. This is a 10-minute video, so I'm not gonna sit here and let you watch the whole thing. But I would just like to show some things that I've been working on that I feel is pretty cool. And I guess the other thing that I'll preface with this is that you might hear a familiar voice on this video. So let me kill the music here. So again, I'm not going to show the full thing, but this just gives you a little bit of information about what I've been working on. So here you go. My Navy Portal's public presence, otherwise known as MN3P, connects Navy families and sailors, past, present, and future, to authoritative My Navy HR information through a curated collection of public-facing sites easily accessed from MNP. Who's that guy? Who's that guy on that video? With an enhanced site navigation layout, the global navigation menu facilitates rapid engagement. With I'm not gonna show the whole thing, but it's cool. I'll do a LinkedIn post at some point, but it's cool to actually like be able to share something like that. It's in the public domain. It's on a public website now, so that's so cool.
What's enhanced navigation? Just intrigued. I feel the use of
enhanced navigation.
Yeah, I was going to say that it's as opposed to just normal navigation.
Well, you see, before it was just a menu, and now it's a mega menu.
Okay, enhanced menu.
Enhanced site navigation. 21st century. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other cool stuff in that video. And again, it's publicly available, which is the best part. Look at this public domain. Oh, wait, hang on. I'm not sharing anymore. I'm sorry. I just want to share this for potentially legal reasons. Look, it's public domain.
Cool. So anyway,
copyright Chief of Naval Personnel. If I have to say that, I don't know. Here's all the video info. If I need to show that, here you go.
Fair enough.
All right. Okay. Let's get rid of that then, and then we'll bring back our little. Oh man, captions. Do you remember those? We have captions. You know what? I still have our favorite caption in there from all time. Oh wait, hang on. You want to go through some captions?
Go on then. Oh.
All right, hang on. So just in case you're wondering what a caption is, it's one of those elements there. Pre-show.
Oh, this is gonna go very quickly.
This is one.
That was my bad.
Oh, that is your bad. This is one that we had from live coverage. This is one from when you were very tired. Let's find out.
That's still always a possibility.
It is. It's late over there. We're always doing this. We're always doing human factors and chill. And then, of course, the one that I have to bring up every time we bring up captions. You know what's coming.
Well, actually, talking about NASA does take us to the current shenanigans going on at the ISS at the moment.
Yeah, we could talk about that.
Mainly because, I mean, so for those who are unaware, Boeing Starliner took two astronauts up to the ISS with a view to putting them on there. 9 days, just mooching around, living their best lives, jump back into Starliner, back to Earth, back in time for tea and medals, and a good time should be had by all. Unfortunately, things didn't quite go to plan, where Starliner ran into some problems. The astronauts got onto the ISS, but nobody's willing to take the risk that actually the spacecraft is fit and capable of taking the two astronauts back down to Earth again. Apparently, it's 50-50, and it's differences of opinion on how much risk should be had. So where we now sit at the moment is they could potentially be up there to 2025, because trying to schedule in and work out, I believe, some of the embarrassment or the politics, shall we say, of having another company pick up another company's astronauts to bring them back, because basically the SpaceX might have to go and pick them up and make that work.
Can I jump in, because the narrative that it's about risk, about bringing them back, I don't know if that's true.
Cool. I'm always willing to be educated.
So and the reason I say that is because I think that they could bring them back at any time. The reason that they're keeping them up there is, one, the politics of bringing them back in another ship that's not owned by a certain company, but rather to diagnose what happened. So they're upon reentry, they will likely lose some of the systems that failed. But from what I understand, that reentry will be fine. It's just that they'll lose some of the systems that have failed, and they won't be able to diagnose them. And so that's why they're keeping it up there docked, so that they can run those diagnostics before they lose all that data. So that's what I heard. And that they're stuck up there and they're never coming back down is the media narrative of, like, but it could be risk related. I'm not saying that you're wrong about that. I'm just saying that I think the primary reason that they're keeping them up there is to run diagnostics, not risk based. But it could be.
I was saying, the bits I'd got in my notes were around they've been having helium leaks, and I think they've had 4, 5, 6 helium leaks that they're not entirely sure where they came from, why they did it, but also the RCS thrusters, the reactor control system, the thrusters there had failed, and so they're having to troubleshoot the issues from the ground. So I think it sounds like there's more than one issue they've got to deal with, and do that. So but this, for me, this is the interesting piece almost from a human factors perspective, isn't it? Because it's about, we're now into trust. Because if you're one of them astronauts up there that says, well, we had some problems getting it up here, and you've now been sat around there whilst we've been trying to troubleshoot the problem and from Earth try and work out what the problems are, and what is safe and what isn't. And if you then go and turn around and say, well, actually, you're going to come back in, you're going to lose some systems along the way, but it's fine. Don't you worry your pretty little head about that. It'll be, we got you. Do you get on that? Do you, or you could turn around and say, well, actually, we can get somebody else's trusted, tested capsule to come and get you, and that'll all be good. What do you choose? I think it's an interesting choice.
Are you asking me what I would personally choose,
yeah,
or
what would you do? Exactly. There is no way you're getting on that Boeing craft.
I would do whatever it is that they told me to do.
Who told you? Boeing, NASA, Boeing or NASA?
NASA.
Okay.
Mission Control.
Right. It's very easy to say from the comfort of our chairs. I think, but
if they tell me get back in that Boeing Starliner, okay.
But I think so. What I really like about this now is it breaks the narrative that people were getting really comfortable with this idea that space travel it's a cinch now. You've got SpaceX going up like every 5 minutes. There's no risk to it anymore. It's just a thing. What has been going on here, and with Jeff Bezos's antics as well, we are seeing that space travel is still risky. We are still seeing that it's not a done deal. That the technology is still being developed and still growing and things like that. So on the one hand, I think this is it's quite a good reality check, I think, for a lot of people. What is disappointing, I think, from Boeing's entire perspective, is they just can't seem to catch a break at the moment. Anything that seems to can go wrong is going wrong for them at the moment. I know they're getting a lot of grief politically as well for all of that, and you kind of got a feel for them as an organization, as a company, because it's massive. It's a huge thing, but you all focus on just the one name and think it's a couple of people in charge of this thing, and when it's not, it's vast, different size, different parts of a business. But yeah, they can't see it. But perception is thus.
Can I admit something?
You don't run Boeing, do you? Have I just been completely trashing you down, and you're actually the main shareholder?
No, I
Okay.
do not. I do not run Boeing. But what? Okay, here it is. So, speaking of Boeing, and planes and safety and travel, I've got a sick, like, morbid curiosity around some things. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So in my TikTok feed, this profile called Aviation Disasters has shown up. And they have like these illustrations about terrible accidents on planes, and it's just that. It's a bunch of them, and some of them are overlaid with like the morbid last contact from the plane, from the black boxes, and I don't know, I can't get enough. Like, it's, of course I'm viewing these from the Human Factors Cast TikTok account. And so of course human factors related things come into my feed all the time. I get automation, I get ChatGPT, I get aviation disasters now. There are some like there's, oh god, have you ever like seen a video? Have you ever seen a video and you wish you hadn't seen that video? This is probably probably something for folks who were like online in the early 2000s a lot, who have probably seen terrible videos in the early 2000s. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. There's a ton of them, so pick any one of those. There was one that I'm going to describe that is not necessarily graphic, but is disturbing. And so we're going to check out soon. We're going to check out probably in the next 10 minutes, and it involves an aircraft disaster. So if that is at all disturbing to you, just know that we're about to wrap up soon. So this will probably be one of the last things that we discuss. I will not be offended if you want to drop off now as I discuss this. I'm not talking to you, Barry. You have to stick around to react to this.
I was just getting ready.
I'm talking for everyone who's watching or listening. So there's a trigger warning for you all if air disasters or graphic. I'm not going to show it. It's terrible. It's not graphic, but it's disturbing. So, okay, here we go. Warning has been out there. Last chance. Drop off now. Okay. So I was watching a video and it was somebody live streaming from inside a plane as it went down.
Whoa.
And they were joking, like moments before the plane went down, about, oh, we're gonna crash, and the thing did. And this video has haunted me because it has the same grip on me that the Ocean Gate stuff did, where it's like you're thinking about what it would be like to be in that submersible as it got crushed, or even you know, in the days leading up to finding out that it imploded, thinking that they might still be alive on the ocean floor. It kind of has that same grip on me, where what would it be like to be in a plane that crashed? Because the live stream, it's this guy, he's looking out the window, and then all of a sudden you just hear a lot of screams. And the thing that is most disturbing about this video is that the plane was so low in this crash that the connection remained, and the phone fell far enough from the plane to where you could see it on fire and hear like silence, and that silence was deafening. And it's just so haunting. It's one of those videos that I wish I didn't see. And now I'm getting plane disasters in my TikTok feed.
Yes. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because actually the more disasters, so we did a bunch of work ages ago on behaviors of crowds during terrible events, particularly through terrorism. And what is really interesting about the human psyche is that if there's somebody, and we're seeing it, we've had some more incidents in the UK of knife attacks and things like that, where you have an event like that going on, and you like to think that the first thing that you do as a human is run away from the threat, and you do. You want to get away from the bad thing, and that lasts for about 15 paces until then you do the whole thing of, so what's going on? I'm now safe. I wonder if there's anything to go and see. And so then you'll have this running away from whatever's going on, but then you'll have a contraction coming back in of people wanting to then come in and look and see what it is that is actually going on. And that's human nature. We see that on car crashes, on motorways and things like that too, where you have the accident, whatever's happened that is terrible, and things like that. But then past the accident, you will have 2 or 3 other crashes where people are more interested in watching what's going on in the first accident, that they then go and have an accident themselves because they're not concentrating on the road. They veer off into veer off the verge after the accident. And so human nature is thus that we want to see that sort of stuff. And then you also have that immediate grip on, if now what we have, and it's a bit of a dark mirror thing that, black mirror thing, where, the first thing we do now is get our phones out and start filming this stuff. Or as you highlighting is living it, and doing that, basically recording media in posterity that we've never had before. We've never had these opportunities. And because there's so many people, you can now put together such a good picture from people's phones that we've never been able to do before. So yeah, insights like this are going to be way crazy.
I mean, the fascinating thing about this is that the phone was toast after this, and the only reason we got this footage is because he was live streaming it.
Yeah.
So I sent it to you, Barry, in case you wanted to.
Cool. I need not to sleep tonight. That's fine. That's awesome.
Yeah. If you wanted to not sleep tonight too, it's just anyway. So
I need to watch it in the app apparently. So.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Which is probably not a bad thing. I need to just put it somewhere where I can access it. So I'm going to.
I mean, if you want to watch it and discuss it, that is. But I'm not going to show it here. Obviously, that is. I am not going to show the video.
That's probably best.
and I've already given the trigger warning, so anyone who's still here is likely okay with talking about this. I'm not going to show it, but if you want to know which video I'm talking about, you can Google Nepal flight crash January 2023 video live, and you'll be able to find the thing that I'm talking about here. So Barry, are you attempting to watch it right now? Is that what you're doing?
Yes, I'm now just sent it to my. Oh no, not that. Yeah, oh yeah, it's just arrived. I know. Right, I'm just going to kill my microphone so I can watch this. So talk to yourself.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to watch what Barry is. Well, I assume what Barry's watching. I know Barry's watching the same thing that I sent him. Yep, there it is. And yeah, it's the Nepal flight crash. It's this guy looking out the window, and he's looking over the city, and the plane is flying. It takes a slight bank to the left, and I think it catches a pocket of air as it gets really close to the ground, and it's on its final approach to the airport. And it does. I think it hits just a pocket of air. I don't think it catches anything, but it's in the air 1 second, and then it's not in the air the next. And I think Barry's just about to hit that point where the guy's looking out the window. He's looking at the camera. He's making jokes about dying because there's some. Yep, and there it is. And I think Barry is now at the point where there's likely flames on the screen, and silence, and the silence is deafening. And it is just it is one of those videos that you wish you didn't watch. And then there's a separate view of the incident that trails that. So
yeah, I'm not going to have nightmares much. But yeah, I mean, that goes back to what we were saying in terms of that. You know, we're going to get insights now into accidents and incidents that we've never had before. That's incredible.
Well, you just saw that one a couple days ago. Happened in South America. And did you see that one? There's a ton of video footage of that happening from a variety of different angles, and I wonder, what that's like for friends of the show, like our friend Rose, who has been on multiple times, who does forensics in human factors, and to kind of put together all those pieces. Like, I swear, forensics is, from a human factors perspective, super interesting.
Cool. Yes.
And so when you have all this data that you can then put together this big picture of what's happening, for some reason that tickles my brain in a way that very few other things do. It's when you stitch together multiple images that overlay what is happening at any given point at the same time. So we hosted an insurrection here in the United States on January 6th, 2020, and or 2021. And there are so many points of view and so many different pieces of media that have covered that event, from news stations to people recording on their own phones to CCTV cameras in the Capitol building itself, all these different perspectives. And to see there's a video that stitches everything together in real time, where you have sort of the march up to the Capitol building from a whole bunch of different perspectives, and it's just all playing at once, and you're just watching this thing happen through so many different lenses, and you can reconstruct what is happening based on all those different perspectives. You're right. Like, this is from a data nerd perspective, super cool.
But I mean, the insurrection is a really good one to raise, because obviously now we are different people are trying to push their own version of events, because of, I don't know, you've got some event coming up in November, and people might be talking about the different truth of different things. And it's this whole now, what is the truth? when you've got so much evidence in front of you. People saying that are trying to say that the insurrection didn't really happen. It wasn't what everybody's talking about. Nobody was hurt, but all that sort of stuff. Yet there is clear evidence. There's clear video evidence, and we've got examples now where was it Kamala Harris's she had a big rally where loads of people turned up, all that sort of stuff, and she her running mate gave massive speeches. The opposition's people were then said, "Oh, they didn't actually exist. It was all AI because look at what the reflections off the bottom
Isn't
of the
that so
air."
dumb? Isn't
Yeah,
that so dumb?
and but it's interesting because it's where do you go, because it is now this post-truth piece where you turn on with facts right in front of you. You are still not willing to believe them. So what more do you want? What is it that about the human psyche that allows you to turn around and just see the truth in front of you and completely ignore it because of what you believe in? I find it utterly fascinating that there's people now interviewing people, interviewing as journalists, saying, what would you like to have, basically calling out different actions of different people and saying, what do you think this? Oh, that's terrible. Oh, well, the person you believe in has done this, and if it's them, it's all right then. Or I don't believe that, or it's a lie, or whatever. I just find that whole piece of behavior, cultural behavior, fascinating. And in this media world that we now live in, we are now willing to believe or not believe media just on the sake of it, because it touches something deeper inside us. Interesting times.
All right, I think that's a good place to stop. What do you think?
I'm good. Yeah.
Plane crashes, insurrections. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. That's
post-truth world. Yeah.
Post-truth world.
We've covered everything.
All right. And all that stemmed from your talking about the NASA astronauts. All right, great. So you know what? Since we're sort of at the end here, Barry, where can folks find you if they want to hear to your fabulous interview with the folks that sing their own podcast from Human in the Loop?
So you can find me at 1202, the Human Factors Podcast at 1202.com, where we talk to human factors practitioners and interesting people about their experiences of human factors, sharing their stories, sharing their good times and their bad.
Excellent.
1202.com.
Excellent. Well, I am here. You can find me here. You know what? I'm actually going to make a plug. I'm trying to get us more active on the short form platforms. So TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Reels. I'm trying to get back into that. If you would like to show me a little bit of encouragement, subscribe to us on those platforms, follow us, whatever the thing is, press the button. That would show me a little bit of encouragement to say, I like what you're doing, and please put more short stuff out there so that I can enjoy it piecemeal as I'm doom scrolling through aircraft aviation disasters. I would love to see that happen. So if that happens, I will definitely put more stuff out there. Otherwise,
sounds like a challenge to me.
All right. Yeah. Well, then maybe we'll be back here in a couple weeks, and we'll go from there. I know we have a conference coming up soon, and still trying to figure out what is going on with that. So please stand by. Please stand by on that. I promise we're gonna get something.
So there's another conference coming up, which I think we've paid no attention to whatsoever, but probably should. Which is IEA 24 happening in South Korea. Yeah. So how are we going to do that? I've got no idea, but we might want to talk to some people who are going there or some such thing. Yeah, no idea.
Okay. All right.
Awesome.
Well,
with that, then.
y'all take care, and we'll see you on the next time that we all get together and have a good old time here. And just making sure I didn't miss any other chats. Yep. All right, we're good. All right. Good night, everybody, and see you next time.
Have a good one.